Crash, Chapters 17 and 18 by Jerry Spinelli. Read for you by Mrs. Shoemaker. Chapter 17. She was still searching when Mike left. She didn't stop until my father came home. As she closed the door behind him, she mouthed silently to me, "Don't tell." "There's a rodent loose in the house," I told him. "Might even be a rat." Abby threw her ugliest face at me. "It's a mouse." My father frowned. "Just what we need. You saw it?" "Yeah, in the kitchen. Ran in here somewhere." He looked around as if he thought it were going to come out and take a bow. Abby ran up the stairs. He let out a long breath. "Well, tell your mother to get a trap." "You better get more than one," I said. He nodded. The front door opened. My mother was home. She heard my father say, "We have a mouse," and she sagged, just like he had when I told him. I noticed that sag a lot. It almost always happened when they came home from work. I'll say something, or Abby will, and they sag. It's a total, major sag. Cheeks, shoulders, even voice. Except the eyeballs. They roll upward. It's like they've just barely been making it through the day and they finally get home and one little word from us. Sometimes it's just a question, like, "Do you know where my Frisbee is?" And bam, they're crushed. Sag City. Sometimes I wish we could turn the day upside down so that their main time at home would be in the morning before they get all worn out. I'll tell you, at the end of the day, it doesn't take much to crush a parent. My mother sighed. "Get a trap." "Me," said my father. "You're the male. You're supposed to be the hunter." She sagged toward the kitchen. She stopped. She pointed down at my football laundry bag. "No." "No what?" I said. She was still looking and pointing down. "You know what. All last year you kept leaving that smelly thing here. It's not going to happen this year. Not even once. Pick it up and get it out of here." I guess I didn't move fast enough. "Now!" "Oh, right." I snatched it up. "Thank you," she said and dragged herself off. I followed my dad into his office. It's a little room in the back. Sometimes he goes right on working there half the night. "Remember that kid Schultz," I said. "I told you about? Said he was going to bust me?" He took stuff from his briefcase. "Did he?" I sneered. "Ha! We had a fight before practice even started. They had to pull us apart." And I got him good later. We ran some drills, and twice I plowed him into the ground. I was awesome. He looked up. He laughed. He reached out and mussed my hair. "That's my crash." I kind of felt like sticking around, but I figured I better not press my luck. I backed on out. "Can't wait for that first game," I said. "October 8th. "Go get him, Crasher," he said. He was rooting in his desk. I lugged my football bag upstairs. Our upper hallway is different from most people's. It's like an art gallery. My mother used to be a painter. Some of her paintings are hanging on the walls between the bedrooms. One of the paintings is me. You'd never know it, because I was less than a year old when she did it. I'm lying on my stomach with a diaper on, looking up with this toothless grin, probably already thinking what I'm going to do when I get my first football helmet. It's a stupid picture, actually. Something like that should be kept private. Everyone who sees it laughs. I usually don't even look at it. This time I did. On the glass that covered it, some mysterious, unknown person had crayoned a mustache right above my toothless grin. I put spit on my finger and rubbed it off. Chapter 18. October 8th. We creamed Hillside East, 45-13. I scored 6 touchdowns. The first one was the best. It was the very first play of the game. Brill, the quarterback, called I-22 right. That means he hands off to me and I run over right tackle, which was fine with me because right tackle is where Mike DeLuca plays on offense. And coming out of the huddle, Mike bumps me and says, "Let's do it." Usually, a simple, safe play like this is supposed to get the team's feet wet, maybe gain couple yards. That's probably all Brill had in mind. He doesn't know me and Mike. I took the handoff, slanted right, kept my head up, watching for the hole. There it was. Mike was shoving the hillside tackle halfway to China. I blasted through, and there was the hillside linebacker. Somebody was supposed to pick him up, but nobody did. I stiff-armed him. The stiff arm almost always works early in the game. Players don't expect it. Most runners never use it. I hit him smack in the face mask with the heel of my hand. His eyes went gaga, and his head snapped back. I was clear for a second. Somebody had hold of my free hand, the one without the ball. I started swinging around, spinning my arm out, trying to shake the kid. He was whirling around like a carnival ride, and on the third spin he went flying off into two of his teammates. Now there was nothing between me and the goal line but the safety. I love safeties. They're usually small and fast and shifty. They expect you to try to outrun or outjuke them. I swear I almost burst out laughing right there when I saw the safety's face as he realized I wasn't going left. I wasn't going right. I was coming straight at him, like there's a bullseye on top of his nose. I plowed him under and streaked the last 40 yards to pay dirt. My own teammates almost killed me in the end zone, mobbing me, burying me under a pile of bodies like they never saw a touchdown before. They carried me off the field on their shoulders. The ride was bumpy, but the view was great. The cheerleaders were going crazy, including Webb. That's right, the happy little surprise made it. He's a cheerleader. Same sweater and shoes as the girls. At least he didn't have a skirt on. It was one of the eeriest and uncomfortablest feelings I ever had, watching a boy lead cheers for me. Of course, the stands were going wild, too. I looked for my father, or even my mother, what the heck. Couldn't see either of them. Well, after all, the game had just started. Maybe they're on their way. Or maybe I missed them in the crowd. As I waded through all the pad slapping and high-fiving, I took another look at the stands. Still didn't see them. But I did see somebody else about halfway up. A white-haired guy and a semi-old lady smiling and clapping with the rest of them. Webb's prehistoric parents. My second touchdown was a 52-yarder on a pitch-out from Brill. This time there wasn't anybody in the way to run over. I just left them all in the dust. The place went wild again. This time I made them let me leave the field on my own feet. Webb's parents were still smiling and clapping. Mine weren't there. Okay, I figured. They're late. Give them some time. They're coming. All you gotta do is keep scoring. So that's what I did. I either scored or made a long gain every time I touched the ball. I had to. Suppose they came just when I got stopped for no gain. I couldn't stand it. And since I didn't know exactly when they would show up, I had to be great every second. I kept telling Brill, give me the ball. I scored my 5th TD just before the first half ended. They still weren't there. They're probably coming for the second half, I figured. They didn't. TD number 6 came early in the third quarter. As I trotted to the sideline, I kept staring at the stands. Not for my parents anymore, but at Webb's. They were still there, grinning and clapping themselves silly. I wanted to charge up there and strangle them. I wanted to shake their skinny vegetarian necks and scream into their Quaker faces. Stop cheering for me. I don't need your cheers. I'm not doing this for you, so stop acting so darn grateful. When they went to the office again, when we went on offense again, I raced back into the field. As I was leaning into the huddle, I felt a tap. I turned. It was my backup. I'm in for you, he said. That's what you think, I said. I shoved him. He stumbled backward onto his second-string butt. I heard Coach Latner scream from the sidelines. The quarterback called to the referee, "Timeout." For the first time I noticed it wasn't Brill. It was the second-string quarterback. The coach was calling me. He was waving for me to come out. I pretended not to see or hear. Then he came stomping across the field. He pulled me away from the other players. "I'm not going to drag you off," he whispered. "You're going to trot off along with me, understand?" I glanced at the stands. "You can't take me out. I'm just getting warmed up." "I'm here to beat Hillside," he said, "not destroy them. You're the only first stringer left on the field, and you're already benched for the first quarter of our next game." He leaned sideways into my face. "You want to try for the second quarter?" He started trotting off the sidelines. I went with him. The kids in the stands jumped up and gave me a standing ovation. Everybody was cheering. My name came hooting down. "Coogan! Coogan!" Except one cheerleader, Jane Forbes. She just stood there behind the bench, hands on hips, glaring at me. After the game, Mike had to go straight home, so I walked alone. When I came to my house, I walked past it. I went around the block. Slow. Twice. Somebody was cooking somewhere. Wherever I smell cooking like that, it makes me want to go right into that house and eat along with them. But I can never tell which house it's coming from. Only one thing for sure, it's not coming from my house. That's why I was so shocked when I finally opened the front door. The smell was coming from my house, and that made no sense at all. My mom's car wasn't in the driveway, and Abby isn't allowed to use the stove. I shut the door real quiet. I got a good grip on my football bag. I tiptoed through the living room, the dining room. A suitcase sat on the floor. Something was sizzling in a pan, and it smelled awful good. Somebody was whistling a tune. He was facing the stove. He must have heard me. He turned, a spatula in his hand. I screeched, "Scooter!"